Bill O'Brien is gone, and everybody's shouting it from the rooftop. Quick statement here. Do you think Bill O'Brien was a problem at Alabama last year or not?
Look, it wasn't a creative offense, and you've got arguably the best quarterback in the history of a really, really iconic football program. I don't know. I mean, Alabama was fourth nationally in scoring with 41 points per game. The year before, they won an SEC championship and were a half away from winning a national championship. Somebody's always going to be the scapegoat, and because Alabama hasn't won a championship in a couple of years, the scapegoats were the coordinators. Nick Saban's never going to be the scapegoat.
Here's the dirty little secret about Alabama offensive coordinator. Okay? Here's the dirty little secret. It's not about what you do in annual numbers. Okay? So Lance is right. You throw out scoring offense, you're like, that wasn't the problem. You look at total offense, that wasn't the problem. You look at producing a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, the offense wasn't the problem. The dirty little secret about Alabama's offensive coordinator is we need him to be really good in 2 games in the regular season.
Like which 2? I mean,
well, you don't know. Yeah. That's the problem. You don't know.
They were pretty good against Tennessee.
I'll tell you which 2 they were until they weren't great at the beginning, and right there at the end they had some issues. And LSU. Last year was Tennessee and LSU. Those are the 2. I can't look at the schedule and tell you which 2, Dunaway.
No, I will tell you.
But you got to be good in 2. Basically, it might be 1 regular season game. You might catch a year where you only got to be good in 1 regular season game.
Yeah. Here's the deal. You want the dirty little secret?
Do you disagree with my dirty little secret?
No, your dirty little secret is very pedestrian. I'm kidding.
Well, let me hear yours.
This is the dirty little secret that nobody wants to talk about with Alabama football. And I guarantee you, if there was truth serum to Nick Saban, if there was truth serum to people who play the game,
right?
Alabama's offensive line and Alabama's defensive line were middle of the pack or worse in the SEC.
I don't disagree.
They were not elite.
Yeah,
they don't have elite offensive line play anymore. They don't have elite defensive line play anymore, which made the linebackers have to do more, and they couldn't get to their personnel and have elite seasons. And the offensive line couldn't do elite things in big moments to win football games. It's not play calling. It's not either one of these coordinators that we've sent on a ship, and we're going to bring in new coordinators until they fix the freaking offensive line problem and the defensive line problems, and they get the Jonathan Allens and the Barrett Joneses back and big people that will just smother you and smear you into the ground until they get that physicality back at Alabama. It's not the X's and O's. It's those big, ugly guys in the trenches, and that's where Alabama football has fallen off.
I think there are a lot of people that would agree with you on that. Brown agrees. I agree. But it wasn't just that. Somebody over in the Vulcan Tire and Automotive chat room said Alabama had receivers and they had talent it was like Maverick Hammerfist. Talent, all caps. I'm sorry, they missed on receiver this year.
It appeared they did.
I mean, Bill O'Brien back same offense that he was running in 2021 as 2022. Jamison Williams didn't have a problem. John Mechie was a good receiver. You didn't have one of those guys this year.
Yeah.
You just didn't.
Paul over in the Vulcan Tire and Automotive chat room says, terrible take by Brown. Number 1, I don't do takes. Number 2, it's not a terrible take. Everybody forgets because Alabama scored 49 points in that Tennessee game. 7 of those, by the way, came from defense. Everybody forgets how slow they started that game offensively. You can't just say, they were fine in the Tennessee game. Tennessee was up 21-7 exiting the first quarter. Alabama had not kept pace. It's why Alabama spent that entire game clawing back to finally take the lead at 35-34. They had to claw back in.
You tell me the last time you felt good on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 when Alabama's lined up. I don't care who's calling the plays. You tell me the last time that you felt good that Alabama could get a yard if they needed to get a freaking yard.
Probably 2015 when Derrick Henry was the running back.
Yeah, if I had John Parker Wilson over here right now and I said, John Parker Wilson, last season, it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, anywhere on the field, you think Alabama can get that yard? He'd go, maybe.
Yeah.
But there was a time in Alabama football you said, hell yeah, they can get a yard.
No. I mean, Josh Jacobs was one of those guys,
too. I was probably unfair in saying 2015. Najee Harris was one of those guys. That 2020 offense was pretty much unstoppable. So, I mean, I would say There have been times, but consistently, it was early in the Saban. This back half of the Saban era, it hasn't been as consistent that way. No, I would agree with you on that, Jim.
Yeah, but Bob Sacamo and others, red zone creativity, garbage, red zone offense. Yes, you know why? Because in the past, except for the Johnny Manziel loss at Bryant-Denny Stadium, when we all said, "Why did you throw the ball? Run the ball!" Because in the red zone, when you're great at running the football, you know what you can do in the red zone? You can line up and wait for it. You can run it into the end zone. Your offensive lineman can push people out of the way and run it into the end zone. They can't do that anymore.
The irony of that is Bill O'Brien's a well-respected NFL coach. Where do NFL offensive coaches make their millions?
In the red zone.
In the red zone.
Yeah.
I mean, between the 20s in the NFL, there's yards to be had. It's in the red zone where they really, really make their money.
But what does Alabama have to do in the red zone? With Bryce Young at quarterback,
much easier in college.
But what did Alabama have to do in the red zone? They say it's first and goal from the 5.
Yeah,
they had to throw the freaking thing in every time.
Right. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
By the way, Patriots red zone efficiency this year, 32nd.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all.
Hey.
Did you watch them?
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So he's got a job to do once he gets back to Foxborough.
You know who really is the happiest people other than the people in the chat room today? The guy at quarterback in
Mac
New
Jones.
England, Mac Jones.
Yeah, he's got something new.
Well, Patriot fans, too. I think they're excited about Bill O'Brien coming back because they saw Matt Patricia, a defensive guy, calling the offensive plays.
And it looked like a defensive guy calling offensive plays. But I go back to what I said. I mean, our thoughts don't have to be mutually exclusive. I think you're absolutely right.
It does not, Brown. We both can be correct.
We both can be correct, and I think we are. I think as Alabama's offensive coordinator, and my point in this is, as Alabama's offensive coordinator, you're going to get your yards and your points against the vast majority of the schedule. It's just roster at that point. Your roster is so dang good. I mean, you're like inventing plays to call.
It is not dang good on the line anymore, man. They've got to get back, man. They got to get those line play back.
But even that, look at how many games Alabama just outman. Even with that situation, Jim, how many times Alabama just lined up and did almost anything they wanted on offense. To be an elite Alabama offensive coordinator, you're going to be called on a couple times in the regular season to save Alabama, to save a win. And Bill O'Brien had a chance to do that against LSU, couldn't do it when the defense wasn't getting the job done. And I still maintain his slow start in Knoxville put Alabama in a hole that they just ultimately couldn't climb out, and the defense clearly was not there that day.
I get it, but it's still 4 quarters, 32 first downs, 569 yards, and 49 points.
Yeah.
You should win the majority of this game.
You should. It's on the defense. I'm not blaming him.
17 penalties, too. Let's not forget.
That hurt. And I'm not blaming him. It is on the defense.
Let me ask you guys
that
this.
Alabama lost to Knoxville, but that is my point. Vast majority of the time, coaching for Nick Saban, your defense is going to have you in a possession. You don't even have to be that great offensively to win. They didn't in Knoxville. Alabama had to be flawless just about offensively to win that game.
I was more of a Pete Golding fan than Bill O'Brien, so I don't have a problem with this. But I'm just saying, how different would the perception be if Jamison Williams and John Mechie never get hurt? Because I think everybody would agree, except Georgia fans, that Alabama probably wins that game in Indy and wins a national championship.
I don't like to live like that, but I agree with you.
I mean, there were a lot of drop balls in that second half. The offense completely changed.
No, the fact of the matter is we just had Bryce Young, who probably deserved better than what he got in Tuscaloosa as far as a trophy case is concerned, right? He's got a personal one, but doesn't have a lot of greatness, doesn't have that national championship trophy with him as the starting quarterback at Alabama. He bailed Alabama out of a lot of things, but there is somebody there, Bob says, with Bryce, what was Bama's identity? It was Bryce Young.
Yeah,
they had to play a certain way because Bryce Young was the quarterback, and now with Ty Simpson coming back or whomever else is the quarterback, Alabama can change their identity a little. They had to play different, Brown, with Bryce Young.
They had to play different, but I mean, I think let's don't get caught up in the semantics here. I think their identity became give the ball to Bryce Young and let him bail us the hell out.
That's right.
I mean, I think that's what their identity became. I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, we've got maybe the best player in college football. Obviously, we're going to feature him. And it's another thing to say, we got the best player in college football and not a great plan around him, so we're just going to let him bail us out every time. Yeah, and I felt like that's what a lot of what Bryce Young did.
100%, because a lot of times he was dodging a player or two before he could throw the ball down the field. I mean,
it started with Texas.
The year he won the Heisman, how many times did he get sacked? Wasn't Alabama one of the most sacked allowed teams in college football the year he won the freaking Heisman? A lot of problems.
Probably so. I mean, yeah, he got destroyed at Jordan Hare that day.
Listen, you're chasing greatness, right? So we're, Alabama, what was they, 11-2 this year, number 5 in the country.
Yeah.
It's not like the house is on fire. But my goodness, when you're chasing greatness, which is where Georgia is right now, when you're chasing winning a national championship where they made it look easy for a long, long time, it's not an easy fix. It's not just changing an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator. This will be 6 different offensive coordinators in 8 seasons for Alabama. 6 different offensive coordinators in 8 seasons
But
for
that's
Alabama.
not necessarily a bad thing. You're painting that as a bad thing?
No, I mean, it's not a bad thing, Brown, but that's a lot of change,
Well,
though they supposedly keep playing the same style. So I ask you, if we're playing the same style in Tuscaloosa, why are we always upset with the offensive coordinator?
Oh, I don't think they are always upset with the offensive coordinator.
They are now with Bill O'Brien.
Well, they are now, but
Yeah.
I don't think Alabama fans have always been upset with the offensive coordinator. I think Nick Saban, by and large, has gotten it right. But, I mean, in the line, and I pointed this out earlier today, to your point of how many offensive coordinators Alabama has run through, the line should start at the door for this job. I mean, like Nick Saban should open his office door, and every great offensive coordinator in America is standing in line right there.
Because they're all right now either OCs in the NFL or head coaches somewhere.
Your last 5, here's the career path for your last 5. Florida Atlantic coach to Ole Miss coach. Bills offensive coordinator to Giants head coach. Maryland head coach, Texas head coach, Patriots offensive coordinator.
That's right.
I mean, if I'm out selling a job, I'm like, okay, well, look at the upper mobility you have in this job.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, I'm going to make $1.5 million.
Oh, yeah, if not more.
Or $2 million if you're
Depends
a certain
who,
guy.
who the guy is.
Yeah, so the upper mobility is there.
Well, that's $1 million question now. I mean, I think most people assume if you can get through the hurdle of the NCAA and figure out what's going to be on the other side for Jeremy Pruitt, he's going to be the guy that's the defensive coordinator. But, the question now is, who is that offensive coordinator?
Well,